What's up, YouTube? Timmy's here. Here is my throwback segment, where I talk about the films that turns 10, 20, 30, and 40 this week. The films celebrating their 10th anniversary, we of course got the Divergent series, Insurgent. Now, Insurgent, of course, was the second installment of the Divergent film franchise, which they've never really finished, really. Uh, Now, the second one was just okay, not anything to go by. The third one was awful, and obviously after that, they didn't even finish this franchise. Like, I remember they were supposed to do a TV show at one point. That never came to fruition. This is pretty much like a dead franchise. Like, who knows if we're ever gonna get to Return of Divergent. But of course here, you got Kate Winslet playing the character Janine, and where they're like the characters are of course on the run from Janine, and the rest of the power hungry Erudite, and of course Triss played by Shane Lee Willie, and Four played by Dio James, search for allies and answers in the ruins of Chicago, and they must find out like what Triss's sacrifice their lives to protect here. It's just okay. I mean, it's definitely like the first Divergent was actually decent. I mean, these movies that like were trying to capitalize on the success of Hunger Games, Twilight, and stuff like that. Just unlike Twilight and Hunger Games, this did not even finish this franchise. So yeah. All right. Also turning 10 is The Gunman from the director of Taken, starring Sean Penn. This was pretty much like Sean Penn's Taken, where of course he's pretty much an older guy going like as like a mercenary who takes out the minister of mining of the Democratic Republic of Congo in 2006. And I remember watching this one in theaters. It's awful. You had some good cast members, like you had Javier Bardem, Idris Elba, Mark Rylance, but their acting performance in this was wasted. Such a shame too, because this was from the director Taken, which I love Taken, and you could definitely tell they were trying to have. I feel like this could easily have been a Liam Neeson figure at one point, but yeah, you definitely see like Sean Penn was trying to channel his inner Liam Neeson in this, and it's not so good. And it was a bomb too, like a box office bomb right there. All right, now Phil's turning also turning 10 is the faith based movie Do You Believe, starring the likes of Ted McGlinchey, Maria Sorvino, Alexa Vega, Sylvia Shepherd, Brian Bosworth, where Pastor Matthew is shaken to the core by a visible belief of a street corner preacher, and he and others come to start to question what their religious belief really means. And this is actually one of like the better Christian movies I've seen over the past number of years. It is actually from the guy who recently just directed Unbreakable Boy just recent. This is actually not bad. Like sometimes Christian movies could be a hit and miss once in a while. Of course, this was actually from the same company who did God's Not Dead as well. This is actually one of the better Christian movies I've seen over the past number of years. It's actually pretty decent, interesting characters around. So not a bad little film you guys have seen that. Now, also turning 10 is Danny Collins. Starring Al Pacino as an aging rocker who decides to change the course of his life after receiving a long delivered letter from the late John Lennon. Now, you had people like Annette Bening, Jennifer Garner, Bobby Cannavale, Chris Plummer, Josh Peck was in this, Melissa Benoist. Uh, if you guys never seen Danny Collins, like if you guys ever want to hear Al Pacino bust out a tune, this is definitely for you. It's actually really decent. Al Pacino, probably one of his better performances in the past 10 years. He was excellent in this. It's really heartfelt, really charming. Do yourself a favor, go watch it. It's a really good film. Very underrated too. Alright, also turning 20 is Ice Princess. Now, this movie did star the late Michelle Trachtenberg, who recently passed away. And Ice Princess, which was of course a Disney movie from like 2005, was a really charming one. You had like Kim Cattrall, Joan Cusack. You also had oh yeah, Hayden Panettiere. if you guys don't know much about the story, it does follow like this normal teenager who gives a promising future academic life in order to pursue her newfound dream of becoming a professional figure skater. It is definitely a really cute, charming film. Michelle Trachtenberg gone way too soon. She was like she was great back in the days. You know, she really had some decent roles like from obviously from Buffy to Ice Princess, and she was really charming in this and gone really gone way too soon. Now, films also turning 20. We got The Ring 2, which is, of course, the follow up to The Ring. The first Ring, you know, with Naomi Watts, based on a Japanese film, was really good. I've always enjoyed the original, like the 2002 Ring. The sequel, not so much. The Ring 2 isn't so good. Of course, this time around, you got like, of course, while like investigating the mysterious death of her boyfriend, uh, you know, eventful supernatural force behind the tape, this journalist and you know, the young kid previously watched like the tape and survived here, and of course you had like Naomi Watts reprising a role, Devay Chase reprising a role as Samara. You had Sissy Spacek, Elizabeth Perkins. It's an awful sequel. You know, I actually do prefer Rings over the Ring 2 I meant, but even that was so good. So who knows if we're ever going to go back to the Ring world, but all right. Also turning 20 is the movie Melinda Melinda. Uh, of course, which stars the likes of Wallace Shawn, Rhoda Mitchell, Will Ferrell, uh, Steve Carell was in this. Here you got Wallace Shawn while like dining out with friends. He plays like Cy, who suggests it's difficultly separating comedy from tragedy. And to illustrate his point, he tells like his guesses two parallel stories about Melinda, played by Ron Mitchell, both versions of the same basic elements here. And of course, each story revolves around Melinda coping with the recent divorce to substance abuse and all. This was actually directed by Woody Allen, who did a good job with this. Really nice little, you know, quirky film. Worth giving a go there. Who doesn't love Wallace Shawn, right? All right, now films turning 30 this week is Candyman: Farewell to the Flesh. Of course, you know, this follow up to 1992's Candyman, starring the likes of the late great Tony Todd, Bill Nunn. The sequel isn't as good as the first film, but it actually has some of its moments. It of course revolves around like a New Orleans school teacher who finds herself targeted by Candyman, the powerful spirit of the murder son to slave, you know, of a slave who killed like those who evoke him. And the sequel definitely has some really interesting moments here, some pretty cool kills, and Tony Todd, R.I.P., was Candyman. Like he is just a legend these in with these roles, and yeah, the sequel was the third one I wasn't too big with, but the second one definitely has some cool moments there. All right. Also turning dirty is losing Isaiah, which was I guess you say one of like Halle Berry's earliest roles. You had Sam Jackson, Cuba Gooding Jr., David Shafarin, Jessica Lange. It's more like Kalila Richards, who's this crack addict, single mother, accidentally you know leaves her baby in like in this trash here while like Hyan returns the next day in a panic to find that he is also missing. And across the reality, he, you know, the baby was adopted by warm-hearted social workers, played by Jessica Lange and David Shafarin. And years later, Kala has gone through like rehab and holds a steady job after learning that her child is still, you know, alive here. It is a really heartfelt, charming film. Really, you know, it is a really heartbreaking story too. Halle Berry, you know, she was like very like she became more of a breakout in the '90s with stuff like you know, Jungle Fever. Who remembers her? The Flintstones. Come on. And this was another really interesting performance of her. She was pretty good in this. Seeing Sam Jackson, this was pretty good. Really needs a little film if you guys haven't seen that. All right, Phil's turning 40 this week. We got some good ones here. From Candyman to Jason. is we of course got Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. Which of course, the one of the fifth installment of the Friday the 13th franchise. It's set like years after the previous film and follows the teenager Tommy Jarvis, played by John Shepard, who of course is like institutionalized at a halfway house near like Crystal Lake because of the nightmares of mass murderer Jason Voorhees, whom he took out as a child here. And of course, Jason goes on to another killing spree. You also had like Corey Feldman, who portrayed Tommy Jarvis in the previous returns for the here. Of course, you also had like John Shepard, Shavar Ross. I've always quite liked New Beginning. Definitely, one of my favorite out of the franchise here. Some of the kills is pretty cool. I just always adore the Friday the 13th franchise. Jason is just one of the most iconic slashes. And yeah, who liked A New Beginning? Like probably one of the most underappreciated out of the franchise. All right. Also turning 40 is Porky's Revenge, which is the follow up to the movie Porky's, which I guess you could say, I don't know, pretty much was a movie that the original Porky's pretty much put like the R-rated teen genre on the map. If it wasn't for Porky's, we wouldn't have American Pie or anything like that. And the Porky's sequels, aren't so good. And Porky's Revenge is probably the worst one. It's more like at as like graduation nears for the class 1955 at Angel Beach High, and the gang once again faces off against old enemy Porky, who wants them to show like the school championship basketball game because he's on the opposing team. The first Porky's is an '80s teen comic classic. If you guys never seen the original Porky's, let's be real, Porky's would not hold well today, but the original Porky's is great. The sequels, on the other hand, not so good. It's just not as funny. It just doesn't really like hold up. Like unlike the American Pie sequels, the sequels to Porky's definitely isn't the best. So yeah. All right. Also turning 40 is The Last Dragon, uh, which of course starred the light, which was directed by Micah Schultz, who gave us like Coolie High, Car Wash, Bust and Loose. Of course, it takes place in New York City, where a young man searches for a master to obtain his final level martial arts mastery known as the Glow. And The Last Dragon is it so good. You had a very young Keisha Knight Pulliam, obviously from the Cosby Show fame. Vanity was in this. Who remembers Vanity? She was an '80s icon there. It's definitely not a good one. It's just a little boring. It's definitely, I believe this actually came out like around the time the Karate Kid came out, or like a year after. You can definitely tell people were trying to be the next Karate Kid, and this was definitely not it. All right, there's also turning 40. There's the Secret of the Sword, which is the He-Man anime film that came out in the '80s, which actually was pretty fun there. And last but not least, there's Baby Secret of the Lost Legend, where the paleognosis Susan Matthews Loomis and her husband George stumbles upon a brontosaurus on an expedition in South Africa while trying to track down a local monster. You can definitely tell this came out. We obviously from the '80s. They were like very far away from the Jurassic Park technology, and yeah, this was so weird. Like the end, like you can definitely tell this looked fake because obviously Jurassic Park would not come out until like 1990s, and they were far away from that type of technology to make the dinosaur look realistic. So yeah, not that good of one. You also did have like the Greatest American Showman, the Greatest American Hero guy himself, William Cat. You had Sean Young was in this. Who remembers Sean Young? Like I mean, trying to remember. Oh yeah, Sean Young, of course, was in like Blade Runner, No Way Out. Like Sean Young was an icon back in the day, but this one definitely wasn't a good one. So yeah, but that's pretty much it there. Let me ask you guys, which of these films stand out to you the most? To me, the 10-year one is going to Danny Collins. Really good film, guys. I've seen it. The 20-year one is going to Ice Princess. The 30-year one is going to Candyman Farewell to the Flash. And the 4-year one is, of course, Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. Drop comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is